So I know that we just had UFC 318 last night between Dustin Poirier's final fight versus Max Holloway. It was an incredible send-off for Dustin Poirier, and Max Holloway did win as predicted. And it was just an incredible fight. Fun. It was a fun, decent card. Nothing too special though. A bunch of decisions for the most part. Overall thoughts on the card. Pitbull got his win back, so it was a very lackluster win, but at least he's in the win column to save his UFC career. You had Kevin Holland losing in a crazy entertaining but goofy fight to Daniel Rodriguez. Such a roller coaster of a fight. And then Zellhuber getting veteran checked by Michael Johnson. So Michael Johnson still doing it at 39 years old. And Paulo Costa defeating Romy Kopylov, which I did not expect. And then it was also a night of a bunch of prospects with Islam Dulatov and Atiba Gutierrez making statement wins to show that there are real problems at their respective divisions, while Brendan Allen also. So yeah, UFC 318 was cool, great, right? Fun fight, crazy between Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. A lot of good moments, and I'm just happy that Max Holloway honestly got his win back because his career moves on. And Dustin Poirier, congrats on a legendary career. So yeah, that was the great way to send it off. But the video I'm making right now is because we got to shift our attention and our focus immediately to the next UFC pay-per-view, which is headlined with with by far the best fight we will have received so far this year, the biggest fight and best fight to make, which is Khamzat Chimaev returning versus Dricus Du Plessis in Chicago on, I believe, August 16th. What is that, like 3 weeks from now? This fight is going to be insane, and I think we got to start shifting our focus and talking about it because this is literally the best fight yet that we're actually getting, and it's really the next rightful number one guy who's a super dangerous, incredible threat in the first round in Khamzat Chimaev, who also just rose to such a level of star power so quickly in his UFC career against, what did they say, an unstoppable force, which is Khamzat Chimaev versus the unmovable object, which is said to be Dricus Du Plessis. And Dricus Du Plessis, rep in South Africa, has been a middleweight champion a little bit on a run right now. He has not lost yet in his UFC career. And Dricus Du Plessis is running through the likes of, on his way to getting the title was Darren Till, Derek Brunson, Robert Whittaker. Got the title off Sean Strickland, defended versus Israel Adesanya, and then defended versus Sean Strickland again. Just Dricus Du Plessis keeps on doing it. He keeps on doing it, and we have to acknowledge, like, his level of a fighter, because the stats don't tell lies when you look at Dricus Du Plessis. I mean, what's his record? He's a 23-2 fighter and is mostly finishing his opponents. And he's putting on KO, TKO submissions. This fight's going to be incredible next month. Incredible. Now, as I just mentioned, Khamzat Chimaev may have never been called champion yet, but he is already one of the biggest names in the UFC. This guy, there's a different type of aura, an eerie aura around Khamzat Chimaev, just him bursting onto the scene back during COVID in Fight Island. And I think he fought like twice in 1 week, and it was crazy. He beat up, what was his name? I don't know. He did like John Phillips, and then he did Rhys McKee and beat them, submitted and TKO'd both of them within the span of a week. And then he got his win versus Gerald Mearshart, beat Ling Jing Liang, Gilbert Burns, Kevin Holland, all by like this incredible, just immense pressure that he throws at you in the first round. And it's just insane, the relentlessness and how he approaches a fight at you. He's like a wolf, ready to just target. And I mean, there's no more dangerous threat than Khamzat Chimaev in the first round in the UFC. And it's also his character, his personality, right? When he yelled, "I'm going to kill everybody," everyone's like, whoa, this is a different type of fighter. And then, of course, he beat Kamaru Usman. It was a short replacement. But again, a big story about Khamzat's career was his health issues, him pulling out of fights, missing weight. He was supposed to have a fight versus Paulo Costa that got canceled. He was supposed to have a fight versus Nate Diaz. I think he was also have a fight versus Leon Edwards. He was supposed to fight a lot of the other elite back when he was in welterweight. and it never got there. So he kept on getting short notice replacements and all that. So he was never fully getting the credit. And still, to the fact that he beat Kamaru Usman, who's one of the best welterweights in the world, which is pretty remarkable. And then his next fight was supposed to be versus Robert Whittaker at UFC Saudi Arabia. And then that got canceled because he had to pull out to a violent illness and sickness. So Robert Whittaker ended up beating Ikram Askarov. And then they finally got it rebooked for 308. And everyone's like, listen, if Khamzat pulls out of this, maybe you should just call it a career if he can make it to the weight and make it to that octagon when this fight is made. But no, Khamzat Chimaev showed up. And this is at middleweight too. He started at welterweight, now he's in middleweight. And he looked a lot healthier. He looked like he finally took the right approach to his training camps because people said he goes too hard. And he went in there. And as you saw in the previous slide, that was his celebration after submitting Robert Whittaker with like a crank choke in the first round. After all the buzz, all the criticism, all the doubts and speculations about how Khamzat Chimaev would go through the rest of his career due to he did that. And it was one of these crazy moments where just like, this dude is for real. He's here. Nobody does that to Robert Whittaker, what he just did. Just the most dangerous first round fighter in the UFC, undefeated, and Khamzat Chimaev is just this insane force, and it's going to be so interesting to see how this will go versus Dricus Du Plessis, who is a puzzling style himself, right? We always say this guy is like a little bit of a goofy fighter, the way he throws his punches, the way he charges forward, but there's a reason this guy has not lost and is on his, third title defense, right? He defended versus Israel Adesanya and Sean Strickland. So he's the champion for a reason, Dricus Du Plessis, and he's doing incredible things to some of the best fighters that this middleweight division has to offer. He submitted Israel Adesanya, who, by the way, looked very sharp in the beginning of that fight. Israel Adesanya, he was kind of staying with it with Dricus Du Plessis to do what he did to Robert Whittaker. And then Sean Strickland, he's not aging too well as a fighter. Sean Strickland, he's an up and down. But he beat Sean Strickland twice. He did a neck crank to Darren Till. Dricus Du Plessis is also for real. And maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, we could have said, Khamzat Chimaev is going to maul him and destroy him. But I do not think that is the case anymore. This is going to be a lot closer fight than people think. Or maybe not. Maybe Khamzat Chimaev will put on a legendary performance versus Dricus Du Plessis and do what he's been doing to everyone. Just from the minute that first round bell rings, just go in with insane, crazy pressure and immediately shoot for the takedowns and submit Dricus Du Plessis and make short work of him, which would, if that happens, then Khamzat Chimaev. Now, another thing that was circulating that's kind of crazy source, and Kyle Borralio said this, and Kyle Borralio, who is he to speak about Khamzat Chimaev's business? But we got to talk about it. Khamzat Chimaev apparently might retire. This is the wrong slide, though. Let me just go back. Yeah. Khamzat Chimaev may retire after he wins the title at UFC 319 because apparently because of how much health issues he's had, and because he has already so much money that he could just retire after achieving his dream of winning the UFC belt. Now, dude, that would be such a loss to the sport if because we haven't had much of Khamzat Chimaev. As much as he's fun, as much as he's one of the most entertaining fighters and most dangerous fighters in the UFC, to have him for the amount of times that we did, and then for him to just come in and we get, like, the few times that we see him fight, he probably fights around once a year. We haven't even gotten him that much. We haven't seen much of Khamzat Chimaev. For him to finally win the belt, for him to finally be allowed into America, and then for him to not want to defend versus more fun middleweight matchups like Anthony Hernandez and Nasruddin Imavov or Kyle Borralio. These are, we need Khamzat Chimaev to be able to be the face of this division should he win on August 16th. It would really be such a huge loss and a really, sour taste in our mouths for Khamzat Chimaev to just leave the sport immediately after getting the belt, because of all this buildup throughout the years of knowing that this guy will soon get there. He's just, it's a matter of time before Khamzat Chimaev, and all the frustration with him pulling out of fights and getting injured and weight, and to finally have him be in a healthier place. And We want to see like just him become probably one of the middleweight goats. Like, I'm not trying to be biased, by the way, about Khamzat Chimaev. I'm just saying, like, I am like, this fight is gonna be so sick, and I just can't wait. Like, I'm so intrigued in it. It's one of the most competitive and high level matchups, and one of the most like hard to call matchups that we're getting between Khamzat Chimaev and Dricus Du Plessis. So yeah, I really hope that's not the case. I hope that Caballero doesn't know what he's talking about, and that Khamzat Chimaev does not retire if he does win that belt versus Dricus Du Plessis, because we need more of Khamzat Chimaev. He's such a sick fighter for the UFC. So yeah, this is going to be incredible. Now back to this slide. Yeah, and the rest of the card is looking really, really good right now. I'm really liking this main card. You started off with Tim Elliott and Kaya Sakura. Also, you have like Brian Battle and King Green on the prelims and Nursultan Roziboyev. So fun prelims, and then this main card's really shaping up nicely. They added Carlos Prates on here, looking to bounce back after his loss to Ian Gary versus Jeff Neal. They rebooked it. And then there's the always fun Michael Page taking on Jared Cannonier, both coming off wins. That's a really fun fight as well. And at the top is this super fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Dricus Du Plessis. Now, there is one slot missing, which on the broadcast last night said it was to be determined whether that co-main event, who it's going to be. So you know that they're about to put one more fight on here for the co-main event. And here are the options, right? It's either Movsar Evloev versus Aaron Pico getting rebooked, because apparently Movsar has pulled out of the UFC Abu Dhabi co-main event. So Aaron Pico wants to get that rebooked immediately in Chicago. So they might do that for a co-main event. Or they could do Sean Brady versus Ian Gary, which I've been pushing for. Like, that would be a sick co-main. You know, Sean Brady's American, right? Doing Chicago. But then another option, and this is like a really far-fetched option, but I could see it maybe happening, is Bilal Muhammad versus like a Shavkat Rakhmonov or a Kamaru Usman, because Bilal is from Chicago. So how cool would that be if Bilal Muhammad was to lose, because I hate Bilal Muhammad, in a co-main event in front of his hometown? Imagine that with Shavkat or Kamaru Usman as a co-main event, with this already being an incredible card. So yeah, this card is shaping up really nice now. Definitely a huge upgrade from the card we just got last night. And I think the best card of the summer so far, with how it's already going. I just know that they're going to put some sick co-main event here. I don't know. There was a rumor also it was Paddy Pimblett, Justin Gaethje. I do not think that's happening. Paddy Pimblett ain't making weight like that. So, yeah, we're in for a really good one in just a few weeks in Chicago. And it's cool because, like, Chicago's getting one of the best fights. And the UFC hasn't been there in forever. So, Chicago, you're really getting a good one here with Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus Du Plessis. Just goosebumps about this fight, and it's really just going to be insane. Yeah, Dricus Du Plessis, he's been winning with his ways. He continues to win, and Khamzat Chimaev as well is just this unstoppable monster who undefeated, finishing everyone in basically the first round, is barely taking it. But of course, there's always the cardio issues, right? If Khamzat Chimaev, how will he look past 2 rounds? And yeah, just in a couple weeks' time, cannot wait. So until next time.